Okay. So sorry, I'm not quite sure whether I have understood you correctly. Will Jerral or you introduce me, or how will we start?
I will introduce you.
Okay, thank you. Great.
But somehow all the participants here at the moment is around 71. So they are all
Okay.
listening to us.
Wow.
Thank you everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Mr. Zul, I think we can start. Mr. Zul would be our MC today, Dr. Judy.
Okay, maybe we can start, Doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon and welcome to webinar series 1, Designing Dietary Models in Animal Experiments. This webinar is fully organized by Laboratory Animal Care Unit, LACU, Faculty of Medicine, UiTM Sungai Buloh Campus, in collaboration with ALTROMIN GmbH and Company, Germany, and Biosystems Corporation Malaysia Sdn. Thank you very much for joining us today. So
Thank
now
you.
to begin our program, it is my pleasure to invite Associate Professor Dr. Nasibah Azmi, for Coordinator of the Laboratory Animal Care Unit, Faculty of Medicine, UiTM Sungai Buloh, to deliver her welcoming remarks. Okay, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zulfadhly, for your kind opening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to everyone. Distinguished speaker, Dr. Medvet Judith Kirchner-Musmann. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Dr. Judith.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much. It's difficult, I know.
Dr. Judith is from ALTROMIN, Germany. And our next speaker is the Mr. Jerral from Biosystems Corporation Malaysia Sdn. I will just brief their biography soon before they start their speech. On behalf of the Lab Animal Care Unit, LACU, Faculty of Medicine, UiTM, University Technology Mara Sungai Buloh Campus, it is our great pleasure to welcome all of you to our first LACU webinar series entitled Designing Dietary Models in Animal Experiment. Actually at LACU, we are very committed to supporting quality, ethical, scientifically sound lab animal research through animal care service and research support. So today's webinar is actually marks an important milestone for LACU, as this is our first of educational program that we actually plan to organize. So through this webinar series, we really hope that we able to create a platform where all the animal researchers, student, lab personnel can exchange knowledge and stay updated with the latest development in lab animal science. So we are truly honored to have the two distinguished speakers with us today. And we are confident that this expertise will provide valuable insights for all participants here. Thank you for joining us today and for supporting this initiative. I wish everyone an informative, engaging and fruitful webinar, and I pass it back to our MC, Mr. Zulfadhly.
Okay, thank you very much, Associate Prof, for the warm and expressing welcoming remarks. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, we will now to proceed to today webinar session. It's my pleasure to invite our moderator, also Associate Professor Dr. Nasibah Azmi, for the coordinator of the LACU, UiTM Campus Sungai Buloh. Okay, Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Zul. Actually, the moderator, I am impromptu moderator for today's webinar. So
Okay.
Before we begin, I just want to ask a quick question. Or actually, how many of us actually have ever purchased ALTROMIN diets for your lab animals through BSc in our research? I don't need an answer, but actually I'm sure that in fact many researchers in UiTM and especially LACU, many of us have worked with ALTROMIN products in our animal research. So today we are really having a privilege of hearing directly from the experts behind the ALTROMIN company. So I believe that makes today's webinar even more meaningful. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Judith Kirchner-Musmann from ALTROMIN, Germany. Dr. Judith is a veterinarian with a doctoral degree from the University of Veterinary Medicine, Hanover. Since joining ALTROMIN in 2012, she has been actively involved in the scientific and quality management department, specializing in lab animal nutrition. She is also a member of the GV Solas Nutrition Board and regularly delivers lectures in Felasa Lab Animal Science courses at universities across Germany. So she is a well-known lecturer also. Today, she will share her expertise on designing dietary models in animal experiments, helping us better understand how appropriate nutrition contributes to reliable and reproducible animal research. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Judith Kirchner. And I think, Dr. Judith, now it's your turn. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the nice introduction. Thank you. And sorry, someone could you please switch out your microphone?
Please mute. Dr. Judith, we cannot hear you. Can you?
Please,
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So you switched out all microphones.
Yeah. No, it's good to go. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for the nice introduction, and I'm very honored to this invitation. So it's really great, and I think it's also great because we're sitting in Germany, in Europe, and producing lab animal diets. Here it's 9:30 in the morning, and at your place it's already afternoon. But we managed to have a webinar here and talk about laboratory animal diets, and this is great thing in modern times. And thank you also for using our diets and working with them. And to be honest, 1 hour is relatively short, so I will try to give a bigger overview of laboratory animal nutrition in general, and then go into further detail of planning laboratory animal experiments which are diet related. I cannot go into absolutely detail. So if you have questions, we can do that after the talk maybe. And if you have really detailed questions regarding certain experiments or planning of experiments, then I kindly ask you to contact me afterwards via email. And also my colleague from the designing of special or purified diets from the other department. She is Thjorven Reineking, and she's already with us today. And this is her contact email, so you are always free to contact us, and we will then try to do the best consultancy for our diets. So we just go directly into the material. I hope it works. No, we have already technical issues here. Now it works. Okay. So this is always my first slide when I do a talk about laboratory animal nutrition. Why? Because we have so many different people listening to these presentations. We have animal care technicians, we have animal caretakers, we have physicists, chemists, veterinarians, and all of you are working for somehow with laboratory animals, mostly rodents, I assume. And not always or everybody cares about nutrition, because this is something which is done by the animal facility. It's working, so why should you care about that if you plan an experiment? And I always try to make sure that you consider also this issue, because the nutrition, the diet we use for the laboratory animal is one of the most important environmental factors in running experiments, because it's directly interacting with the metabolism of the animal. You can make an animal healthier by feeding, and you can also make an animal sick by feeding, if we think about diabetes studies or diet-induced obesity studies. So it's a little bit you are what you eat, and this is not only relevant for humans but also for animals. So we have always in the world we try to support the 3 R's, and we can contribute to 2 of the 3 R's by nutrition, by adequate animal nutrition, meaning we can contribute to refinement, to animal welfare. And this is not only relevant for the animal welfare itself and the ethics point of view, but also to having good research, to have valid results afterwards. So this is really important. And you should know a little bit about the species you work with when you try, or when you decide which diet solution you choose. The strain you work with, do you have mute animals, transgenic animals? We have in these days we have so many different mouse strains and lines, and yeah, it's a great variation currently. So it's difficult sometimes to find the best nutrition for each animal. That's almost not possible in an animal facility these days. And what's the age of your animals you use? So have you young animals, weaning animals, or old studies with old animals which should become really old, and then you can support them also differently as with a breeding diet, for example. And the aim of use, are you planning an animal study where the nutrition is factor in your animal study, or is it just something you would like to standardize? And this brings me to the next point, standardization. And you already mentioned the terms comparability and reproducibility. Only in standardizing the best it is possible, also the diet you use and the feeding regimen you use and the feeding technique, you will avoid false test results or misinterpretations of results. And I do not talk about clinical issues here, because I think these days we almost never have them, that a guinea pig will have vitamin C deficiency, for example. That's almost never happened. But we have subclinical interactions or effects of the diets we do not consider or assume, and this is something I think we should really be aware of. And the last thing is the costs. If you're running an animal facility, then you have to consider the cost of the whole facility for nutrition. Usually then use a standard diet. And I can only talk for Europe, but here we have approximately 3% of the total cost of running an animal facility, a rodent facility, would be the standard diet supply. So that's not very much. But as soon as we talk about special diets, about special experiments, purified diets, amino acid diets, for example, that's to be honest, a really bad example, because we're coming up here up to 100 euro per kilogram of diet, because these diets are really, really expensive. Nevertheless, you just need then 5 to 10 kilograms for these diets. So that's a different situation. But yeah, you have to take all this into consideration. And my big message is, take home message on the start already. Please consider animal nutrition when you're planning an experiment or when you're designing your study, and not only afterwards, but also during your planning. I will go into further detail later. So in general, what is the difference? What makes it the difference between why is laboratory animal diet production and supply so special? We have 3 different big animal diet sectors in the world. This is pet food, then the farm animal feed. We have much more higher quantities here, and in between we something here in laboratory animal diet production, and we are very small and very specialized. We produce much more smaller batches compared to pet food or farm animal feed sector. And we also have different housing situations. It's totally different if you house the rodents behind SPF barrier or even in isolators. Then we have special hygienic requirements these two other ones would never have. And this is why we have also special packaging solutions and sometimes really also customized packaging solutions. So if you tell me you have a barrier, SPF or isolator, and you need special packaging solution, you need it vacuumed in 100-gram packages, for example, to bring it into the isolator, this is something we can do. It is possible for us. For the other two sectors would never do that because it's not necessary and they don't care about that. They more care about marketing and high production of farm animal feed. And what we also have, it's a special principle, is that we have the so-called fixed formula principle. All our diets, also the cereal-based standard diets for the big animal facility solutions, are produced according to a fixed formula, meaning not only the raw materials, the ingredients we use for the diets are fixed, but also the percentages. So the formula remains stable all the time, also during decades. And this is how we can contribute to reproducibility of diets and standardization. The other two sectors, the pet food and the farm animal feed factors, there it is not necessary. They produce according to least cost formula, meaning they look how is the cereal prices on the world market today, and then they will calculate each day what is the least cost formula, still fulfilling the nutritional demand of the target animals. So totally different situation here. What we also have is customized modifications. We can modify almost each standard or purified diet for you. And we then produce only 5 to 10 kilograms for just one experiment, which will never produced again. And something which is maybe also important if you do not know already, we only produce on demand. And this is not only for the purified diets, for special experiments, but also for the standard diets. So if you order via Mr. Ding, via Biosystems, we get an order from you, and then everything is freshly produced at our facility in Germany, and then it is shipped to you. So different situation, we have nothing on stock, for example, and this is a totally different situation than in the other two sectors. And this is why we're so specialized and also so small. And that brings me to ALTROMIN, just a brief overview from our company. We are in Germany still, and it will remain that. So we always are situated in Germany. We are a family-owned company, also already in the third generation now. So that's very nice. And everything we produce is produced at our one production site in Lage in central Germany. So we do not have any other productions, and we produce on demand and ship it out to you, our partner suppliers all over the world. For Malaysia, it is Jerral Ding with Biosystems Corporation. So this is your contact partner if you would like to place an order. And everything is produced here. And this leads us to the situation that we have the highest, not only quality, because we have hands-on production, but also highest flexibility for you. Because sorry, could you please switch out your microphone?
Sorry, Mr. Please mute.
Dr. Judith, please unmute again. Dr. Judith.
Hey, Doctor.
Okay,
Okay, now you can hear me again.
good.
Okay, thank you. I don't know why, but the microphone switches off. I will have a look at it. So directly inform me if you can't hear me. Thank you. We have a very special diet know-how for almost over 60 years now, and everything is produced at us, and this makes us absolutely flexible if you have special requirements of modifications of diets. So I would like to give you a brief overview just because this is important to understand the next slides. Some of you already knows that maybe, but for some of you it may be new, so it's good to have this overview, I think. The issue is with laboratory animal diets is that we do not have international binding nomenclature for these diets. So what you may have often read already in papers is the term chow. And I'm always not very happy if someone writes chow because this is something you have to know that it is meant by that is a standard diet or a cereal-based ingredient diet. If you don't know that, it's difficult to interpret. And chow, the term chow doesn't tell me anything about, what kind of chow, what product, what brand, what ingredients. So I try to list here more than only one term, but it's all the same. So the first would be the natural-based ingredient diets, or also mostly cereal-based diets. We in Germany here often call it standard diets, and also it uses the term chow. If you read it somewhere, you know what it is. They're mainly cereal-based. I explain on the next slide. Then one special diet would be then the purified diet. It's a totally different principle. We do not have cereals as ingredients here anymore, but pure ingredients, pure nutrients. And this is also why I have this picture of the Lego bricks here. We do not feed them to the animals, but we have a kind of modular design principle we can use here. And this is just that you get to know how to use these diets and what's the principle of that. So though totally different principle, I also explain on the next slides. And one step further would be then the synthetic diets or chemically defined diets, which are in general one level deeper than the purified diets. So these are the three different diet types you can use, mostly in rodent feeding, but in general, in principle, you can use it or order them for all kinds of different species. So what are these natural or cereal-based ingredient diets, also named standard diets? They are widely used. So if you're running an animal facility or if you go into your facility, I think this is a diet which is used. They have a cereal color and they are relatively cheap because they are produced in tons and they remain a natural product because they are from cereals, grinded cereals, and then pressed into pellet form or extruded form. You use them for maintenance of animals, for breeding of animals, or if your experiment is not feeding associated. So you need a standardized diet in your animal research always, but you do not need a modified version or a purified version because your diet your experiment itself is not feeding related. These standard diets are usually based on cereals today. The main protein source here is soy. The only exception would be if you would like to have an isoflavone or phytoestrogen poor diet, then we try to avoid soy because this is the main source of that. So we also deliver these standard diets without soy, but the main protein source would be soy. And we have no animal or fish meal inside the standard diets anymore in Europe. And also I think the only mainly used open source diet over the world is the NIH number 31 mouse diet, which is widely used all over the world, and this still contains fish meal, but all other diets are mainly for rodents, are mainly free of animal origin today. So the modern standard diets. And this is also what ALTROMIN produces. The fixed formula principle I have already explained. And nevertheless, these diets, although standardized from the formula and ingredients, they are not defined for 100%. They remain natural products, and we still use ingredients from the field. And they may have slight fluctuations in the nutritional content, not on the big picture, but if you go behind several after the comma, then you may have slight variations because these are not chemical products but natural products. And also there remains a slight risk of contamination. We are always screening our diets. We do regular screenings on that for pesticides, mycotoxins, and so on. And all these found values are always below any tolerances which are legally related. But if you're running a tox study, for example, then it can be an issue, and you just want to know the full pesticide screening of the batch you use, and then we would recommend to do a full pesticide screening, for example, if it's relevant for your study. This is something we also offer as customer service. So just contact us. We can arrange with a third-party lab if needed for a certain batch. Then the standard diets, just an overview of the ALTROMIN standard diets. This is several points I have already mentioned. We offer all these standard diets for rodents, mini pigs, guinea pigs, different species, also non-human primates, for example, and mini pigs, rabbits, and so on. All these diets are purely cereal-based. We have no animal meal inside from our ALTROMIN standard diets. And if you would like to have an overview, please visit our website. You're very invited to do that. And the variants of these standard diets are the autoclavable ones. So if you plan to autoclave these diets inside your animal facility, please tell us with the order so that we can deliver to you a fortified version of that. And we also offer these diets in irradiated forms. So we send them out for irradiation by a specialized irradiation company. And also the phytoestrogen or isoflavone deficient variant are available on demand. And the typical shape or form of these diets is the pelleted 4 millimeter pellet for rabbits, mini pigs, and guinea pigs. And the 10 millimeter pellet would be for rodents mainly, and also for non-human primates. We also offer rings, extruded rings for non-human primates, for example, and also powdered diet, for example, for metabolism cages or special needs for special experiments. And you see here the typical square and ALTROMIN pellet. This is something which is really typical for us, but you also can order these pellets in a round shape if needed. And on the below, you see our hybrid pellet in the on the left corner, below left corner, you see our hybrid pellet, and this is something in between product between pellet and an extrudate. So this is a good solution, for example, if you have weak breeding animals and you would like to have a better reproduction results, then this could be a solution, because they do not have to invest so much gnawing energy, but you still have the pellet form. So this is a good solution, and several breeding facilities use these hybrid pellets in these days. When would you use a purified or chemically defined diets? Always if you need this kind of modular design principle. So the purified diets, in contrast to the standard diets, which are cereal-based, where the whole cereal corn is grinded and mixed into the diet, you have always a mixture of several nutrients. Here, it is another situation. We have the isolated ingredients or nutrients, and we put them together in the quantity you need for your certain diet experiment solution. And this is why I also pictured here the Lego bricks. It's a kind of modular design principle, and you design your diet in the way you need it for your experiments. And this contains mainly isolated proteins, so not the whole corn anymore, but also mainly casein, or if you would like a plant-based solution, the soybean, for example. Then fats, carbohydrates, also pure sugar. Sucrose is typical solution for that. And this brings us to a totally different designing situation compared to the standard diet, which is cereal based. And one step further would be the chemically defined diets. Here you have the same principle, but for example, leave the soybean or the casein as protein source out, because it is a mix of different amino acids. And if you would like to have an individual amino acid composing diet, then you leave this out, the protein source, and put every amino acid in the quantity you need inside your diet. And the same principle you can do with the carbohydrates, the fatty acids, the vitamins, minerals, or trace elements. And this leads you to a chemical, really defined diet. You can imagine this is relatively expensive, especially compared to the standard diet, which are produced in tons. Here we produce it in our lab, handmade, 5 kilogram, 20 kilogram, 50 kilogram would already be a big production batch. And these diets look differently. You see it, they are white in origin, and we can also dye them in different colors. For example, if you need that for several different dosages in a tox study, for example, then you can also order them diet. So when do you use them? Always if you need this modular design principle, so if you need a targeted variation of one or even more ingredients or nutrients in your diet. In the former times, it was mainly used to induce surplus or deficiency syndromes, for example, iron deficiency in the rat or the mouse. In these days, we know mostly all of these things. We know all these malnutrition symptoms already. So it is still done for certain experiments, but the main orders are currently the diet-induced disease models, and these mainly often with diet-induced obesity or diabetes diets, also non-alcoholic fatty liver diet. So many of these modern diseases of old societies. And we can also add test substances, for example, for tox studies or pharmacological studies. I come later also to a slide going more into detail with that. And what we also regularly do is for our customers to induce the phenotypes or to depress phenotypes in TET-on, TET-off systems, transgenic or knockout animals, and these are done with doxycycline and tamoxifen, widely used, and we have today the solutions to give that via the diet and not anymore via drinking water or via IP injection, which is a animal welfare issue, or it is a animal welfare improvement. So the next slide, I would give you a small glance into our lab. It's a through the window glance you can have here. So I just would like to show you that our purified diets, our special diets, are really handmade in a small lab. It's not a chemical or pharmaceutical lab. It remains an animal diet production, but it is very small. Everything is handmade. Everything is very clean. And you see on the first pictures, you see the storage of purified ingredients, and you see the pots are very small ones. We need only very small quantities, and for example, the amino acids and the vitamins are stored there, and we produce very small quantities. In the middle, you see two of our mixers, and also here the mixing tool comes from above. It's a stainless steel and can be cleaned very easily, and we have batches of 5 to 50 kilograms. That's it. And then you see on the last picture our pellet mill for special or purified diets. And this is really a small cylindric thing, only like this. So very small quantities, very small batches here. And all this is done on demand. So you place an order and then we produce it freshly for you. And this has also the advantage that these purified diets have reach the best shelf life as possible, because you do not have a shelf life of 12 months here, and we have still sent it out to you. So freshly production is the only solution here. In general, everything is based on our ALTROMIN C1000 diet, which is our control purified diet product. And then you can vary anything you can imagine. And this list is never closed. So if you searching for something, looking for something, and do not find it on our website or on our account portfolio, please contact us and ask whether it's possible to modify. An example would be here the zinc deficient diet. This is already in our computer based on the ALTROMIN C1000. Then we leave out the trace element premix, which would also contain zinc. And then we add each trace element singly, individually to the diet, except of zinc, because we do not want that to have inside the diet. So this is already in our computer, but if you need any modification, please contact me or my colleague Thjorven Reineking via special diets. And we have all our purified diets also free of animal origin on request, so everything's possible here. So this is just a glance at our website. We are currently working on a relaunch of a new website, so maybe in the next week it will look differently, but the content will remain the same. And you see here several different special diets. You see that we also offer IEN diets. So if you need open source diet, which are on the worldwide market, we can also produce it for you. But we try always to do it with our ALTROMIN diets, sure. And one step lower, you can see here it's just an example from our portfolio, the deficient diets, and you see different diet products here. But again, if you miss something, please contact us and we can modify the way you need. And what is really important is that you know what you need for your study, because we can do a consultation, we can try to help you, but you're the expert for your animal experiment. You have read the literature about your research field, so we can only help. But in the end, you have to tell us, okay, please design the diet the way, or modify the diet in that way you need it. That brings me to the planning of diet. This is a relatively easy list. It is nothing special. It is no high research or high level medicine or whatever. But I think it is a good thing to have that if you are new, start to plan an experiment and have to look for a diet. And then you can go through this list and just consider all these points, because if you do not consider that and contact us from the other side of the world via a partner, then it may go wrong because of communication, or you don't think about everything. We try to, but I think it's good if you're well informed. And this is also one list I always offer to the customers and say, okay, go through it and have you considered everything of that? So what species would you like to work with? This is relatively easy, and most will be rodents or mice. The strain you work with. This can be also already an issue, for example, if you work with Black 6 mice and try to do or transgenic modified Black 6 mice, and you try to do a breeding facility, then our hybrid pellet, for example, could be a good solution. The age you plan to work with, do you need a breeding diet, a maintenance diet, or a diet for older animals? Do you have, for example, newt mice or rats, and would you like to breed with them? Then we offer a still cereal-based but modified diet. It is the 14-14, which have a higher protein and fat content, because otherwise the animals will not cope due to the lacking fur. And then the reproduction results will be much better if you use the cereal-based diet for the newt or transgenic mice. How's the type of use for your animals, or you need the diet for? Is it a breeding diet, a maintenance diet? This is relatively easy, but as soon as you're running an experiment, then you should consider whether it's a normal non-feeding associated experiment where the diet still have to be standardized, but do not have to be a part of the modification of the experiment, or is not a factor in your experiment. So you do not need a purified diet. How do you house your animals? Is it conventional housing in open cages? Then you do not have special requirements for the hygienic thing, for the packaging, for example. But as soon as you're working behind a barrier, SPF barrier, IVCs, or even in an isolator with gnotobiotic animals or germ-free animals, it is absolutely important that the diet you introduce into your barrier is sterile and germ-free and also free of parvovirus, for example. So then please tell us or tell Biosystems that you need a sterile diet, and then we will offer it autoclavable or irradiated. And please consider that purified diets and high-fat diets, and also most special diets or diets with a substance inside, pharmaceutical substance, cannot be autoclaved. You can do that, but the diet will be destroyed most of the times. So there it has to be ordered irradiated. And please consider, if you need irradiated diets, that you have a more or a longer order period, because irradiation already takes surplus time. The type of packaging should fit to the housing situation, to the barrier situation, and also to the hygienic situation of the diet. It's not worth to order a irradiated diet in a paper bag or only in a paper bag, and it's not useful to order an autoclavable diet in a plastic bag, for example. So think that in advance. And how's the durability of the diet and the storage situation? This is something you should also ask in advance, because you have to plan your experiment according to that. If the diet has to be stored in a freezer, then you have to have enough space. Sometimes in a lab, all the space in the freezer is full with samples, for example, blood samples or whatever. And if you plan a longer study of 1 year or 2 years, then it's important to know how the shelf life or the use-by date of the used diets are. Some of the standard diets have a shelf life from 9 months on, but if you work with a high-fit diet, for example, you may have only a shelf life or a use-by date of 3 months. And this is something you have to order early enough, so otherwise you would running out of diet during your experiment, and that would really be a pity. And what we also recommend, I come to that on the next slides, is an adequate control diet, and also to adapt the animals if you have a change of diet. I come to that later. So I know, or I was informed by Jerral, that you work very much with high-fat diets. I am, to be honest, we do not house animals, okay? So we do not we do not know how the effect of our diets are in the animals. We need your feedback. Is it working or not? We can design the diet and we can read literature and have very much experience, but we do not have practical experience in animal feeding of these diets, because we do not house animals here. We only produce the diets. And just important to know maybe for you. And this is also fitting to all laboratory animal diet producers. No, none of them will house any animals. That's not possible. And also not allowed in Europe. So I can give you a brief overview, and we always are very happy to give if you give us some feedback if something is not working, for example. In general, the animal models for diet-induced obesity, it's just I would just give you an example why it is so difficult to choose the right diet for the animal experiment you plan, because For high-fat diets, for example, we have so many different animal models, and if you have never worked with diet-induced obesity, you may choose the wrong model in the beginning. So this is important to know. We mainly have for mouse, it's a typical strain would be the Black 6 mouse, widely used for diet-induced obesity studies. But for example, AJ mice are largely resistant to this feeding. They will remain lean, although fed by high-fat diets. And in rats, we have the typical two strains, Spectrali rats and Vista rats. But even here, not each animal is susceptible for high-fat feeding. We have many strain differences when we feed the same diet to different animal strains or lines. We will achieve different results, also subclinical different results. So in sensitivity of high-fat diets, in the body weight they gain, in whether we have glucose intolerance or insulin resistance or not. And some of these lines may develop metabolic syndrome and some even not. So also what you have to decide is from what age will you start your high-fat feeding? From with weaning afterwards directly, or with 12 weeks already, or even later? Will you start before puberty of the animals or afterwards? Because if you start afterwards, then this may lead to less heterogeneity due to puberty in your results. How long do you plan to feed these diets, and how much time do you have? And all this contributes to the decision which animal model, which strain, which sex, which age, and also which diet. And here I think most of you already know, but just in case, Spectrali rats are a wide used strain in diet-induced obesity, but 40% of the wild type Spectrali rats are non-susceptible for high-fat diet. They will remain lean. 60% will be susceptible and become fat, but the other 40% not. So this is important to know, and you have to decide in advance how to handle with that situation. So if you only order from the breeder susceptible animals, or do you breed yourself, then you have to breed almost twice as many animals as you need, or you use the lean animals as control animals, whatever. So it depends on your animal experiment, but it's important to know. A matter of choice is also the diet you choose then for diet-induced obesity. Because the choice of high-fat diets is almost as varied as the sweet shelf in the supermarket. We have a wide range. We have a world market which offers almost everything, and we do not have any binding standard of that. And neither the phenotypes nor the diets are clearly defined or standardized here. And we also do not have a certain link between high-fat diet, strain, and developed phenotype, because it's a multifactorial system we work with. And we can vary in so many things, even the high-fat diets already. So the fat source itself, is it lard, beef tallow, coconut oil, palm oil, soybean oil, whatever. And the fat content itself, the raw materials we use, and the sugar type and content, if you think about diabetes studies, for example. And all this contributes also to the taste and smell, and whether it is pellet or paste form, and this may influence the ingestion quantity and feeding consumption of the animals. So, and if you order a high-fat diet and read about high-fat diets, please clearly distinguish between the energy content in kilocalories from fat and the total fat content in percent. This is something we already had wrong orders, not from you, but in general, wrong orders because of that, because people do not recognize this difference, and then they may order the wrong diet. So please be aware of this difference. Most often the energy content in percentage is written, but not always. We tend to wrote it both, so to be on the safe side. And we have historically this high-fat diet sector has developed. In principle, we have 3 steps and it has historically grown. We have historically these cafeteria Western type diets, which had the situation to mimic the human situation in a cafeteria, of situation of absolutely choice, hyperphagia, and all-you-can-eat situation. And this was mimicked by giving the animals a standard diet and combined it with biscuits, sweets, cheese, cracker, whatever from the buffet, and all ad libitum. And the advantage was that this was very similar to the human consumption situation in daily business. But the disadvantages is here clearly that we have almost no standardization, and the animal will select, and we never know what was really consumed. One step further would be then the Western type diet, and already on the market there are two different principles. The classical cereal-based Western type diet with a cereal-based standard diet, and then has a high fat content, and cholesterol is added to induce atherosclerosis in the animals. And the second step, we still offer both of these, and because it is still requested. The gold standard here would be the purified high-fat Western type diet with a defined high-fat content, because if you take a cereal-based standard diet and just add fat and cholesterol, then you have the situation that you dilute all other ingredients and nutrient values here. And this is something you have to balance in a purified diet, and this is the better solution. But we still offer both. And one step further than the gold standard for us would be the high-fat purified diets, and we have a certain line for that, the C1090 line, and these are purified high-fat diets which are controlled and standardized for modern experiments. But in general, what you choose here is absolutely dependent on your animal model and the experimental aim. So our ALTROMIN modern high-fat diets, maybe you are already working with them, you already know them. The control diet here would be the C1090, 10 with 10 kilocalories from fat, and then we have all several different percentages of fat parts, and from low to high. And we also can dye them in different colors if you would like to, but you can also order them white. Here a glance on our website, and you see we have the C1090-10 as control diet, and we also offer all of these free of animal origin if needed. This is some glance from a publication where they have shown that the percentage of fat inside the diet is directly related to the fat mass gain. These have been done with male CD1 mice, and unfortunately we have no age information here, but you see that the control diet animals will have a relatively normal weight gain, and then according to the percentages of the high-fat diet, the animals get fatter and fatter. So there's a direct correlation between percentages of fat in the diet and the development of body mass gain. So I have already also some practical notes, not to go into very much detail, but in general to consider that if you plan an animal experiment. So what kind of control diet do you use? In some facilities and some research communities, it is absolutely normal and by default to do that correctly, but some simply do not consider that. And this is why I would like to point out that today. So if you plan a purified study, free of fat diet study with test animals, and you have a control group also running with that, and you need a control diet, then the first idea is often to simply use the cereal-based standard diet, which is already existing in the animal facility. You do not have any diet change in the control group. You have less work, less costs. It's already there. So why do not use it as a control diet? The same would be if you have a purified high-fat diet and you test that against a cereal-based standard diet with a normal fat content of 4%. It is often done like that, I still know, and I would like to, it's possible, but we would like to ask here, what do we really compare if you do it like that? And for another talk a few years ago, I did kind of brainstorming, and I do not have the time to go into further detail here, but if you do it like that, then all of the red marked points will be varied between your test diet group and your control diet group. And you do not have the intention to do that, I assume, but it is simply happen. And the only thing you would usually like to compare is the fat content, or you would like to vary is the fat content between test group and control group. But in using a cereal-based control diet, you may have influence of all these factors I have listed here. So please think about that. So if you do it like that, this first idea is not always the best. And what you also should consider is that the difference of the effect between a purified and a cereal-based diet feeding may be as big as the effect between the normal fat feeding and the high fat feeding. So what do you compare if you do that? And this is why we recommend in general to do it like that. If you have a test diet as standard diet, then you compare it to a control diet as standard diet. If you have it as a purified diet, you compare it to a control purified diet. And if you have a purified high-fat diet, you should compare it to the control diet, also purified based and fitting to the purified high-fat diet you use. I do not say that this is in every case the best solution. It is just, I would like to point out that you think about that. Sometimes, even for a certain experiment, it can be the case that you have to test a purified diet against a cereal-based diet, no matter. So in our general recommendation would be, please compare the same with the same and only vary the one factor you would like to compare in your study, for example, the fat content, the substance you add, the cholesterol content effect, and so on. And only by doing that is that you achieve standardization of your variables in your study. You reduce the variability of your experimental outcome, of your parameters, and maybe mask effects you do not consider or see. You will increase the reliability of your experiment and the reduction and also the reproducibility of your experiment. And please always report that in your publication. Because, or often, it is what I often read if I read a paper regarding this, it's often written still today, it's often written that you have the test diet is a purified diet, it is a high-fat diet, and well described. And then one sentence for the control group. For the control group, a chow has been used, and that's it. And this is something, how should be reproduced? That's not possible. But I think we're getting better in these days. But 10 years ago, it was the normal situation that simply a chow was mentioned. And one other thing is what we also recommend if you work with high-fat diets, then to adapt the animals, to give the animals a possibility to adapt to the animal, to the high-fat feeding and also to the purified feeding situation. So this slide is not only relevant for high-fat diet feeding, but maybe also for all bigger diet changes in animal experiments. Because as you can imagine, diet change and nutritional changes always influence the metabolism of the animal, always may influence the feed intake of the animal, and also mainly the intestinal flora. The intestinal flora will adapt to the new situation of nutrients, and you cannot avoid this, but you can do it slowly. And what often is done still is that the animals come from the breeder or from the breeding facility to from the core facility, and they putting into the research facility. They had transport, they have been weaned, they have transport stress, they have new group situation, new animal caretakers, new room situation, and so on. So they have to adapt to that. And we usually have in laboratory animal science a recommended period of 14 days. This is the general period which is recommended. And I know it's not always possible, but if you can manage, then we would recommend to use this period you already have for also the diet change, and not do it rapidly but slowly. Because if you put the animal from a standard diet, which is cereal based with a normal fat content, to a purified high fat diet, then it may happen that you have clinical symptoms. Not always. Often it's absolutely fine, everything, but you may, the animals may develop diarrhea. They may lacking acceptance or of the diet, although it has a nice smell and smell. They have a poor growth. Even sometimes the test group is leaner and smaller than the control group. And you, in the worst case, you have dead animals, sudden dead animals. And it not always happens, but sometimes it can happen. And we still already had feedback from our customers, and then they say, your diet has been wrong, your diet has a hygienic problem or whatever. And then we ask, okay, how have you run your study? And sometimes it has been really like this, and then we have already an animal welfare issue. So please give the interdisciplinary flower the time to adapt, and do it slowly from a standard diet with a normal fat content. Then you use a purified control diet with a normal fat content. Mix the pellets in the food hoppers, and then the animals can slowly adapt to this high fat feeding with almost half of the diet containing of fat. Even if it's working and you do not see any clinical symptoms in the animals, you will have subclinical effects. There are two theories why it can go wrong. One is the intestinal flora simply cannot cope with the abrupt diet change, and the other one would be also maybe the liver cannot manage, and then the animals may develop clinical symptoms. So it's kind of bacterial endotoxemia in the worst case, and then would it lead to diarrhea and death. I have already mentioned that there is no binding protocol for diet-induced obesity, and please correct me if we have that already. So if you have any protocol which is working, I'm really keen on to see that, because it's helping us also for better consultancy of our customers. This is one protocol I found a few weeks ago, and it's a very nice one. They try to standardize such a model for tox studies and published it. And this is something with a typical black 6 mice strain, male animals, 12 weeks old, so typical age for starting that. The test diet has been a typical high-fat diet percentage of kilocalories from fat of 60. This is a typical one you would use for mouse. And the control diet has been the adequate purified diet with 10 kilocalories from fat, so normal fat content, not low fat, normal fat content. And they did a daily determination of body weight and feed intake of each animal. And after 15 to 28 weeks, you achieve obese animals. So it takes time. This is something you have to consider always if you plan to fatten animals and work with them afterwards. This is the slide where it shows that it worked. You have the control group with the white circles, and the black circles are the high-fat group, and you see that they clearly develop the right body mass. And they also have published the same protocol for the rat, the same principle, same method. The only exception is that here you use a typical percentage of 45 kilocalories from fat. but the other things are all the same, and it worked. Nevertheless, if that 15 or even 24 weeks are too long, if you do not have to wait for that, if you can't manage it, everything is too complicated, there's also a possibility to simply buy pre-fattened animals for your animal study from a professional breeder. Almost all big breeders offer these services today, so maybe this can also be a solution if you just would like to have fattened animals and then work in your study with these. So if the fattening is only the precondition of your experiment, then why don't use the breeder service? It could be a very smart solution. We have really many high-fat diet types we produce, and we try to give our customers also practical handling recommendations. This is from our point of view as producer, so not as user of the diet. And one of these would be that we almost try to deliver all these diets as pelleted shape, not always possible. If you have very, very high-fat diets or very soft oils, then it may be a paste form with all hygienic impairment then afterwards. Our general recommendation to store it is that for longer storage is that you freeze the diets. You do not need that for transport, and you do not need that in the animal room, sure, but if you in between the longest storage period in between, please freeze these high-fat diets. And it is a use by date. It's not an expiry date, a best before date. It is a use by date. Please consider that also. And we offer these diets also irradiated, and the packaging should fit to that. So here you see a bag. It's an aluminum bag, so it protects against light also. It is vacuumed and irradiated, and you see that on the red spot. So you have a double control that you do not bring a non-sterile or recontaminated diet into your animal facility. What we also recommend is that you exchange the pellets a little more often compared to a standard diet, for example, because they are not that stable under light and under temperature. It's okay for a few days, but afterwards they may be impaired already, so please change them, and this may increase the demand you have to order, so take this into consideration. I come to my last slide, so I think we do it almost in time. Also consider animal welfare aspects when planning animal diet-induced obesity studies. So one point would be the correct adaptation. Then coat condition of animals is always bad. If you look at high-fat animals, then you have always a weird coat condition, which may be not impair the animal, but it may make it difficult to do a score sheet for animal welfare because they look weird anyway. Then we have to consider that these pellets are really, really soft ones. So these are gnawing animals. So you should give them the opportunity to gnaw and to shorten their teeth, for example, with gnawing sticks in the cage. You should measure the daily diet intake in best solution, and you should also measure the body weight development. And please, if you have human endpoints and score sheets, not only the minimum weight or weight loss, which is usual in laboratory animal science, should be considered, but also the maximum weight. So if the animals totally lose the agility, if they can't move anymore because they're so fat, this may also be a humane endpoint. This is just an idea. I can't go into further detail here, but we also offer diets for inducing atherosclerosis with cholesterol, with high fat, and maybe with sodium chloride. But please also consider here that we have many different diet types here. We have different diet solutions, and that should fitting to the right animal model, to transgenic or a knockout animal model. And this is a nice table from publication by Godfrey and Reardon, and they give just an overview which diet have been used in which animal strain, which knockout strain, and where which is used and where which strain may be susceptible, and where sodium chloride should be used and where not. So this, I think it's a nice overview. Yeah, and I just would like to show you because yeah, it's always a difficult thing to choose the right diet. And my last slide would be here. Also we have the possibility to add certain substances, also pharmaceutical active substances, to your diets. And this is a nice solution from animal welfare point of view. Nevertheless, please always consider that you have absolutely totally different pharmacokinetical effects compared to a one-shot oral gavage, for example, or to a IP injection. This is a totally different situation, and it not always fits to your research aim. And if you plan to do that, please contact us, contact Jerral, and we can have a look whether it's possible from toxicological aspect. We always need a material safety data sheet, and the best solution is if the substance is powdered form. If not, we can also try. And also important, the substance should be heat stable up to at least 60 degrees. Otherwise, we can put it in the pellet, and we do not put any active heat on it. Nevertheless, only by the pressing itself, the substance may be destroyed. And so, yeah, please contact us, and then we can have a look. But it can be a good solution, but it's not always the one and only solution. Okay. Sorry for just having taken a little more time, but I think that's now we have the whole wrap up, and I'm happy for your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Judith, for your excellent presentation. I must say we learned something new today, and we understand that choosing the right diet is a very important part of the good experimental design. Also, I think this is the first time actually I am listening that I got to know that it is recommended to use a purified control diet about 14 days prior to you shift to your high fat diet. Usually we just introduce the chow diet, the standard diet, and then we just simply shift to the high fat diet. So it's a very something new to us that it is recommended to use the purified control diet for 14 days for adaptation, right, Dr. Judith?
Yeah, that's right. And we can also send you a recommendation sheet regarding that if you need. So,
yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but just one comment. I can send the slides to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I have forgotten to mention in the start of my talk. So I can send these slides to you, so you have all this information wrapped together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Judith. Okay, we will now continue with our second presenter, which is Mr. Jerral. And after Mr. Jerral's talk, it will be quite short, around less than 10 minutes. We will have a Q&A, very short Q&A session with both Dr. Judith and Mr. Jerral. So please keep your question in mind. So it is now my pleasure to introduce our second speaker, Mr. Jerral Weng Chun, the Director of Biosystems Corp Malaysia Sdn. And I believe all of us here already familiar with Mr. Jerral. He has worked closely with university and animal research lab, supporting our lab animal research. And I would say that he is very accommodating. Usually when our lab is running low on a special diet, I remember when we have issue with ALTROMIN diet, we are running low. And I just contacted Mr. Jerral, and he is very, very accommodative. So he done his very best to accommodate our request. So now, on behalf of many researchers, thank you, Mr. Jerral. And today, Mr. Jerral will share information from Biosystems Corp on what are the products they specialize in order to support successful animal research. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Jerral. So, Mr. Jerral, The floor is yours. Mr. Jerral, I think you need to unmute.
Okay, how is my voice clear? Is it?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Judith, for the very nice presentation on ALTROMIN. So I'll just like to share that what other products that actually Biosys do offer to support your research. We also specialize a lot in bedding. Maybe I'll show you a summary of what we can offer at the moment lah.
Are you able to share, Mr. Jerral?
Yeah, maybe, I think I'll try now.
Okay.
Okay, let me search for it. Sorry. Okay, I think it's here. Yeah, okay. So this is just a summary of what we can actually support. So we actually specialize a lot on all types of animal bedding. And then you can see, ALTROMIN diet here, the special diet, standard diet, and then enrichment, all kinds of enrichment. Yep, and also some equipment in the IVC and also the imaging system. So this is just a general. What is not inside this this slide is we do supply a lot of animals as well, all kinds of mice, rats, rabbits, and guinea pigs as well. So this is just a summary, and then I'm sure you all heard of animals from InVivos, right, Singapore? Yeah, we are actually the representative of them over here in Malaysia. So InVivos, they actually have all kinds of strains, C57, Biopsies, nude mice, or the Biopsy nude, the not skid, and all different kinds of mice and rats, depending on your research needs. So maybe I can just share briefly on the animals. Okay, sorry, yes. Okay. I think, yeah, sure, okay. Okay, so this is InVivos site. So
In vivo.
yeah, InVivos. So okay. So they have all kinds of mice and rats here. Yeah, so they have jacks also. They're from Taconic. So all kinds of jacks like the NSG mice. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is just some examples of what from jacks. C57 from jacks. Then the Biopsy. Then from Taconic will be this one. C57. NCR new. Biopsy as well. And also the C3H Swiss Webster. So depending on all what your research needs, we actually can, depending on what strain animals as well, we can actually source for them. Yeah, depending on your research. So we try to be a complete solution provider into all your animal research needs generally. So this generally what we can do. Okay, and let me just briefly go through the products which we can. Sorry, this sharing screen is not very user friendly. I'm trying to share the PDF, but I can't.
Do you want to share the PDF, Mr. Jerral?
Yeah, that's right. How can I share the PDF?
I think you can try share the screen.
Okay, maybe I share the entire screen. Okay. Okay, so this the bedding. I think you all are quite familiar with this, right? The Concord bedding. So this is actually sourced from Egypt, and we actually do supply a lot of this to Malaysia and Singapore. So these, depending on the researcher, we actually do find what all kinds of bedding for each different application. So some researchers prefer corn cob. Some researchers prefer wood chip. This is Takve. Takve is actually from Estonia. They have their wood chip bedding. So some researcher will prefer this. They think that it's a more neutral bedding compared to corn cob. Or some even even a different level of sterility. They can actually go for this alpha dry, this paper chip bedding. As you can see that this is paper chip, square paper chip. So this is a more sterile, more neutral bedding, depending on different application. So from bedding, from corn cob to wood chip to paper chip, we also have enrichment as well. So enrichment is like this. This is also made of paper, but it's called alpha twist. So the mice and rats will actually unfold it and make it into a nest. So this is what we can offer as well for nesting to improve the environment of the cages. I mean the mice, the environment in the mice cages. Then on top of this alpha twist, we also have this Enviro dry, which is also made of paper. And also can be seen that the mice natural behavior to make nests from it. So all this is just to improve the environment and the psychological welfare of the mice and rats. And this is the enrichment. We have enrichment tunnels for them to hide in and to improve breeding performance as well. Some of these are proven to improve their breeding performance as well. And then we took in this brand of IVC from China as well. So they are called Shinva. So they actually have cages for mice and rats and rabbits and guinea pigs as well. So far we have sold quite a few units in Malaysia for the mice system. So They are more economically priced and very reliable as well. Performance-wise, they are pretty good. So in case if you're looking for any IVC, we do actually supply it as well. Yeah. So I think this ends my short presentation on what you can offer to support your research needs. Yeah. So do let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jerral.
Yep.
I think I just got to know that you also offer the enrichment items, because now it is very important to provide enrichment to the animal, to the rodents, and one of the important questions during the animal ethics is that they are asking what kind of enrichment you provide to your rodents. So thank you for that, and I think we will get back to you for that. Okay. Now, since we don't have enough time, because we actually aim to conclude by 5, for the Q&A session, I actually would like to open to the question. But as you can see, Dr. Judith and Mr. Jerral, I mean, Dr. Judith, can you read the message in the chat box?
Yes.
There are 2 questions, but do you think you are able to recap all these 2 in 5 minutes? Because we aim to finish by 5.
Sure. I've just have scrolled through and I only found 2 questions. So
yes, 2 questions.
So I try. Yeah, the first one would be, I'm wondering if the lab mice is already on special diet, like high-fat diet, and we run out of diet before new stock arrives in around 1 or 2 days. What should we do? So do not let them starve. That's my recommendation as a vet. Sure. So this is not a good situation, yeah, and try to avoid the situation. But if you're in this situation, yeah, then try to give them the standard diet, sure, and protocol it, document this. And I cannot be sure about the effect, because it depends on which stage, on which time point you're in your experiment. Okay, are you still in the adaptation phase? Are you already at data sampling or whatever? So I can't say or can't predict, but I would say try to avoid the situation. Do not let the animals starve, and document the situation. This is the most important thing, I think. And what I could add is, or recommend is, when we can maybe we can arrange with Jerral, and we also can produce on a specific date for you. Okay, if you already know, I need in 3 months, I need 10 more kilogram of this diet, please tell us in advance, and we replace the production on that date. The delivery may vary a little, but then maybe it's one thing to avoid the situation by good planning and good communication. So this is something we offer, a dated production for you. And but we need in advance to know in advance, so we can plan. And the second question is, if you feed your breeding mice with maintenance diet, yeah, absolutely. Depending on the strain, they can cope very well with that. And I know that several facilities do it like that, because also for logistics, they do not want to have 2 different diet types in the facility due to handling, order, whatever, and also storage. So, and it is possible. The only thing is, what I mean is, if you see that the breeding performance, for example, is not as you have which you planned, or if the weaning animals are very weak, they are small, you have to wean them with 4 weeks or even 5 weeks instead of 3 weeks, then it may be an idea to think about to use a breeding diet or the hybrid pellet diet. But it depends on the strain, and yeah, you can also breed with a maintenance diet, sure. It's just not the ideal situation, but it can work, and it depends on the strain and the population you house. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Judith, to wrap up these 2 questions. I'm sure actually there will be more questions coming from the audience, but since we need to conclude by 5, but however, thank you very much. My sincere appreciation goes to Dr. Judith and Mr. Jerral. So we also thank all participants for your active participation. We look forward to welcoming all of you again to our next webinar. So just hang on. I will hand the session back to Mr. Zul. We will have a photograph session after this. Mr. Zul? Cik Zul?
Okay, Doctor. Okay, thank you. Okay, right. Thank you to our moderator, Professor Dr. Nasiba. And then now, and I want to thanks to our speakers, Dr. Judith from the Germany, and also Mr. Jerral from the Biosystems, and then for the excellent presentation and your sharing session. Okay, now as a token of appreciation, the laboratory animal care units will email an e-certificate appreciation to Dr. Judith and also Mr. Jerral. Okay. Okay, for the group photo, before we end today's webinar, we would like to invite everyone to please to switch on your camera for a group photo. Okay, everyone can switch on your camera. It's on.
It's important for the documentation, Dr. Judith,
Yeah.
actually.
All right.
It's okay.
We need to import.
Okay, so okay. All right. Okay, one. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Smile, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so lastly, please complete the attendance and feedback form for your UiTM staff. You receive training hours, and all participants who complete the form will receive an e-certificate for participation. We already share the link in the chat box. Please check your chat box for the attendance and the feedback form. Okay. So can you submit from the before leaving meeting? So that's all for today. Thank you, Dr. Judith and also Mr. Jerral. Yeah. Thank you for joining our webinar. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Judith. Thank you, Mr. Jerral.
So thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
For the UiTM staff, from latihan. Please fill up the link. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.
Cik
Boleh
Zul, rasa tunggu dulu sikit kot. Mungkin ada orang yang baru nak isi nanti tak dapat. Kita tunggu sekejap. Thank you, everyone.
Attendance masuk. So for attendance, please scan the QR and also attendance form in the chat box. You are open 15 minutes, eh?
Terima kasih, Dr. Nuraila. Welcome to Lachu anytime.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.